Sunlight pools across the familiar kitchen, catching on the chipped rim of Mara's favorite mug and the frayed cuff of the robe she refuses to replace. She hums while packing lunch, counting grapes into a plastic box the way her own mother once did, trusting the quiet rhythm of cereal poured, milk measured, backpacks zipped. The apartment smells of toast, and the lavender candle her daughter, Leela, insists keeps nightmares away. Mara's fingertips brush the framed photo by the toaster, herself at 18, cradling a newborn against a hospital blanket, the boy who should be beside them long erased from the shot. She smiles anyway, because 15 years of solo mornings have taught her that love can fill a frame without needing extra hands. Today, though, a faint electronic chime threads through the ordinary clatter, too muffled to place. She blames the neighbor's microwave, turns back to slicing strawberries, yet the sound lingers like a skipped heartbeat. When she kneels to retie Leela's sneaker, she notices a thin strip of dust along the dresser bottom, darker than the rest, as though something recently peeled away. Her thumb wipes it clean, unease rising, but the school bus horn scatters suspicion. She kisses a freckled forehead, promises tacos tonight, watches striped backpack bounce down the stairwell. Silence resettles, broken only by the refrigerator's ordinary hum. Mara retraces her steps, rag in hand, intending to finish the missed corner of wood. Instead she pauses, head tilted, listening for the alien pulse she almost convinced herself was nothing. The hall smells faintly of burnt plastic, a whisper of overheated circuitry. She follows it, pulse accelerating, until she stands before the dresser again. Kneeling, she peers underneath, noticing for the first time a rectangle of duct tape curled at the edge, still bearing the greasy imprint of something recently removed. Her fingers brush the rough surface, and the faint electronic chime sounds again, closer now, insistent from inside the furniture. She wedges her shoulder against the varnished pine, muscles trembling as the dresser tilts. Dust blooms like gray confetti in the phone's feeble glow. The plastic rectangle, cheap, prepaid, cracked at the corner, comes free with a soft rip, tape strings dangling like snapped cobwebs. 63 missed calls pulse on the screen, each red dot a silent scream she's never heard. The single contact name knifes through her, Dad. Mara's lungs forget their rhythm. A hollow pop rocks her eardrums as blood rushes downward, knees meeting the rug. Thumb shaking, she opens voicemail. A baritone floats out, soaked in urgency and rain-soaked night memories she buried 20 Junes ago. Baby, please swab your cheek, send it to the lab, she can't keep us apart. The words echo twice, a ghost within a ghost, before the handset slips, clacking against the floorboards. She sees in strobing fragments, hospital corridors, a wrapped bundle, the coffin they said held the boy who danced with her at prom. The phone vibrates again, a file finishes downloading. A PDF blossoms across the cracked glass, official letterhead, barcode, 2 names. Paternity probability, 99.99%. Father Julian Ariane. The same letters etched on the headstone, she visits each year with store-bought carnations. Air evacuates her body in a rasping gust. The room tilts, wallpaper stripes warping like carnival glass. She steadies herself against the dresser, fingernails splitting varnish, breath sour with disbelief. Behind her, bare feet pad on hallway boards. The daughter, still smelling of peach shampoo and clandestine chat rooms, steps into the doorway, eyes reflecting the phone's cold backlight. Mara swivels, cheeks wet, and the girl's mouth opens, closes, opens again, a fish discovering gravity. The report scrolls lower. A second line appears, smaller, innocuous, maternal match, 0%. The words detonate silently, shattering marrow. Mara feels the impact travel vertebra by vertebra, shoulders folding forward as though drawn by an invisible string. Her palm presses sternum, searching for a heartbeat that suddenly feels borrowed. 2 decades of lullabies, fevered nights, first day of school braids flash overhead like damaged film. Blood drains from her lips. The room swims, colors desaturating until only the phone's glow remains, hovering between them like interrogation light. She tries to inhale, but the atmosphere has solidified, a pane of glass pressing against her face. The floor creaks, herself, her child, or the past stepping closer, she can't tell. The screen auto-refreshes, awaiting a swipe that will spill the rest. Mara's finger hovers, nail chipped, universe balanced on trembling skin. The camera stays outside the half-open door, looking in as though the house itself were afraid to breathe. Mara's shadow stretches across the rug, a life-size silhouette that no longer belongs to the woman who cast it. She stares at the burner's cracked screen, the word "Dad" still pulsing like a second heart. Behind her, the daughter, limbs too long for childhood, eyes too old for 15, folds herself against the wall, fingers knitted so tight the knuckles bleach. Neither moves. The air between them is a hallway of locked rooms, each holding 20 years of unspoken nights. The voicemail icon blinks again, red, wet-looking. The man's voice, already heard once, repeats itself inside the walls, soft, urgent, alive. Mara feels the syllables crawl up her spine the way withdrawal crawled through him 2 decades ago, cold, deliberate, refusing to die. She remembers the funeral she refused to attend, the casket she never saw, the obituary that felt like a typo. Her brothers had handled everything. Her mother had folded her in a quilt of silence, whispering, "Some endings are kindnesses." Now the phone insists otherwise. 63 missed calls, each one a breadcrumb her child followed into the forest of deceit. She imagines the girl alone in this room, cheek against the envelope, swab trembling like a match she'd been told not to strike. The lab report waits on the dresser, its pages curled like dried apple skin, the percentages stamped in a motionless black. 99.99. A number that should comfort, instead it gnaws, because the man it names died when dial-up was still singing. Mara's pulse knocks against her eardrums. She hears the past rearranging furniture in her chest. She thinks of the nights she rocked this colicky infant while the town whispered "widow," how the label felt like armor, then skin, then name. She wonders which of them was kidnapped, the baby, the boyfriend, or the story she mistook for her own life. Outside, the refrigerator hums like a distant highway, promising escape routes that never existed. Her thumb lifts, trembles, lowers again. One swipe will uncork the rest. The living ghost, the family complicity, the second DNA line she hasn't seen yet but already feels burning. The daughter's breath hitches, a fragile sound that could crack the planet in half. Mara's nail finally grazes the glass. Static jumps, pixels ripple, the future inhales. The camera stays tight on the rectangle of dusty glass, its cracked corner flashing like a warning beacon. Outside the frame, Mara's pulse knocks against her sternum, but inside the screen the text thread scrolls on its own, ghost typing. Each bubble appears without a scent receipt, as though the past is speaking through a throat of circuitry. There, between the pleas for saliva and secrecy, are time-stamped selfies the daughter never meant to store. A man's smile widening year by year, eyes unmistakably the ones Mara buried in her yearbook 2 decades earlier. The voiceover notes how the wallpaper behind him mutates, first a motel headboard, then a condo balcony, finally the very swing set visible through the kitchen window of Mara's childhood home, the one her brother still uses. Recognition is not a lightning bolt. It is water, seeping, loosening grout until the whole floor lists. She opens the attachments folder. Lab invoices, overnight labels, a screenshot of a family tree app where her own maiden name sits in a green box, connected by a dotted line to the daughter's profile. She sees the date, 3 months ago, the night she pulled a double shift and left the girl to study. The burner's battery icon blinks 2%, a countdown. With each percentage drop, the room shrinks. The dresser looms like a mausoleum, the pink duvet a shroud. Thumb swipes again, landing on audio files labeled by temperature: summer, monsoon, frost. She presses frost. A winter-crisp baritone floods the speaker. Instructions on how to bribe a lab tech, how to reroute results to an offshore server, how to keep our little soldier calm until the paperwork is ironclad. The term of endearment slithers into Mara's ear, coils there, whispering that the girl was coached, loved, weaponized. The final attachment is a PDF thumbnail, a second page of the report, the one she saw only halfway before the daughter snatched it back. It loads line by line: maternal match, excluded. The word excluded repeats, smaller each time but heavier, until it becomes a peal of iron bells inside her skull. She remembers the storm-black morning of the birth, the power outage, the hasty evacuation to the basement nursery no one uses anymore. Memory turns, shows its serrated edge. The phone dims, about to die. Somewhere upstairs, a floorboard creaks, weight on bare heels, listening. Mara's denial arrives first as a hush, a refusal so total it feels like armor. She mouths the word no, but no breath carries it. The syllable simply ricochets against her teeth, while the report in her hand keeps blazing its tidy, couriered truths. 99.99% paternity. 0% maternity. 2 lines, 10 digits, infinity cracking open. She tries to remember the weight of her newborn on her chest. 15 summers ago, storm outside, flashlight lashed to an IV pole. But the memory stalls, overwritten by the clinical certainty glowing on the cracked burner screen. She tells herself the lab mixed samples, that any minute a tech will call, apologizing for a barcode error. She even invents the tech, female 26, newly promoted, shaking as she dials. The fantasy lasts 3 seconds before the voicemail autoplays again. His voice, older, nicotine rough, begging her child for spit and proof, and the hallucination evaporates. Her knees meet the carpet first, then her palms. The impact travels through the house like sonar, a dull thud that wakes the hallway nightlight. Upstairs, the girl listens, fingernails carving half-moons into the banister post, but Mara no longer remembers names. She is a container of acid, everything dissolving. She stares at the dresser's dusty underside where the phone had been taped, sees the rectangle of unstained wood, brighter, embryonic, and understands that every map in her life is wrong. She thinks of the funeral she attended 2 decades earlier, closed casket because fire damage, because you don't want to remember him this way, because her mother insisted. She recalls the smell of lilies clashing with marijuana smoke from the parking lot, the way no one let her lean close to the coffin, the way the grave was dug suspiciously fast. She had believed them. Grief had anesthetized curiosity. Now the lies rearranged themselves into scaffolding, every plank a person she loved. The breakdown arrives as weather. A moan rolls up from her diaphragm, low, almost masculine, followed by another, until the room fills with the sounds of something being dragged underground. Tears are incidental. The real flood is neural, whole circuits sparking and fizzing. She sees her daughter's first bicycle, the hospital bracelet she saved in a keepsake box, the stretch marks she lotioned nightly like needing regret, none of it hers to claim. She sees the man she once loved, barely 19, trembling at the news she was late, now a ghost with broadband, watching their lives through encrypted windows. She understands the shape of the debt he ran from, the cartel warnings daubed on his mother's door, the reason her own brothers rented a cabin up north that year, returning sunburned and tight-lipped. Everyone protected the future while burying her past. Her hand finds the phone again, thumb hovering over the lone contact. The screen flickers, 2% battery, a dying star. She imagines pressing call, imagines confession in a stranger's accent, imagines the line going dead before she can scream. Instead, she lifts her eyes to the dark top of the stairs where a silhouette, child, stranger, legacy, waits for whatever motherhood means now. The house holds its breath. Somewhere, a car engine idles without headlights, watching the windows. Mara's thumb hovers over the cracked glass, report trembling like winter in her other hand. Streetlight leans through the curtains, striping the hallway in slow caution tape. Upstairs, the silhouette shifts. A floorboard answers with a gunshot creak. The phone in her palm is suddenly too heavy. 63 unanswered calls condensed into lead. She thinks of the night she came home from the hospital, how the infant in the car seat smelled like borrowed blankets, how everyone insisted the ears were his, the chin, the future. She thinks of the funeral she never questioned, the closed casket her mother paid cash for, the tombstone that has been lying longer than the man it honored. DNA doesn't care about birthdays, about lullabies, about the way she saved every lost tooth in a mason jar above the fridge. It cares about base pairs, statistical certainty, the brutal democracy of numbers. Yet the greater cruelty is the smaller figure on the page, 0% maternity. The word mismatch feels surgical, a saw through bone she didn't know was hollow. Down on the lawn, the engine purrs louder. A red dot of cigarette bloom, then fade, someone counting heartbeats from the dark. She understands the choreography now. The fake death, the swapped wristbands, the hush money that kept an entire family silent while she built her life on top of a fault line. Footsteps descend, each stare a dropped verdict. Mara's throat fills with every bedtime story she will have to untell, every lullaby that was never hers to sing. The girl, no, the stranger, steps into the light, eyes shining like wet asphalt, waiting for motherhood to pronounce itself. Outside, the car door clicks open. Inside, two women breathe the same question neither has the right to ask.